Glory to Jesus Christ. So welcome back after Christmas New Year break. I think we could start. So after break, I think we can do another step in our reflection about sacrifice. And we started from really beginning, trying to understand what is the foundation of our Christian understanding of sacrifice. And another important step, it's like a building. Before build it, you need to prepare foundation. Do like some kind of hole, clean it, put foundation after build the walls. So New Testament is the fullness of revelation. We say that in Christ we have fulfillment of revelation. But why we do this? Because we are like modern Christians. We sit on the shoulders of giants and we already see far. But we sometimes don't understand on what foundation this building of modern spirituality, theology is built. So we try and come back to right beginning, and we try to rebuild this house, this building inside of our minds, inside of our understanding, awareness, to really understand what is the sacrifice of Christ and what is rooted, what is the beginning. And we already discussed many prototypes, archetypes of it, the main ideas. And another step important, I think without it we cannot fully understand the Christian meaning of sacrifice. It's Abraham and sacrifice of his son Isaac. It will take a couple meetings to discuss this episode, but we have to start. And beginning is the second, it's the, okay, I will read it. It happened some time later, then God put Abraham to the test. Abraham, Abraham, he called. Here I am, he replied. Take your son, God said, your only child Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you shall offer him as a burnt offering on the mount I will point out to you. We won't go forward today, definitely. But it's already bring us to thoughts why God was doing this with Abraham. Of course, it's test. The book of Genesis itself say, this is test from God to Abraham. But why sacrifice your son as a burnt offering? Do you know what does it mean? So he should put in fire his son and burn his totally. This was will of God for Abraham. And like modern people, we consider this as something unacceptable, unimaginable. How it's possible to request from father, kill his son and burn this totally. And we know the story. Abraham was childless. He was lamenting to God that all his richness and goods will go to his servant because he does not have children. And child was a part of promise. It was a part of covenant with God. So you will be, do you remember, God added another letter A to the name of Abraham. He was Abram and he became Avraham. It means the father of many. And now, when he finally became father according to covenant. We don't speak about Ismael or Ishmael in Hebraic way to pronounce this name, because this son was outside of covenant, his son from slave Egyptian, but the covenant was with Sarah. This son, Isaac, should inherit the blessing from God to Abraham and continue the covenant with Abraham. And after so many years being without inheritance, childless, hopeless, and when finally Abraham got his joy and reason for his life, God said him, kill your son, sacrifice your son. It's very hard, but you know, it's a test, we know. But why sacrifice your son? And it's, of course, anticipating, we should see the image of sacrifice of son that Father, Heavenly Father, does for us. But there is also something in space and time, because it happened in specific historical context. And it's about this I would like to speak today. I would like to recreate historical, theological and biblical context of what happened with Abraham, for understand why it was this challenge for him. Why sacrifice your son? First, without go to some sources, I could tell you that through YouTube, through Google, you can find a lot of information that archaeology proved that the land of Canaan, and the land of Canaan is the modern Israel, the part of Lebanon, and the part of Syria. It's that promised land. It's the land where Abraham came from, Ur Chaldean. So archaeology proved that existed very spreaded practice to do sacrifices of children on that land for a very long period of time. You know why they discovered it? They discovered pots with burned bodies of children inside, buried in ground. Many pots, closed with small bodies burned inside. So, what is it? First, if we speak about historical context, Bible will come later. We should mention about worshipping and practice to do sacrifices of children to God named Molech or Moloch or Molech, god of Ammonites. It also could be pronounced as a Malek. So we know how this god looked in that time. It was big metal statue of a man with bull's head. Okay, man with head of bull. It was a representation, manifestation of this god Molech or Moloch. There are different pronunciations of it. So, and people of Canaan And we know that for a very long time, the days that I have here, it's between 1550 before Christ and until 300 before Christ, so more than 1,000 years, 1,250 years, but it's around. It could be much early. We are worshipping this God. And interesting that worship of this God, like manifestation of worshipping, included different sexual rituals, but also included child sacrifices of children. And like I already said, we have many proofs from archaeology that the land of modern Israel, Canaan, and it's modern Israel. The modern Israel is also Lebanon and southern Syria, had many proofs of this terrible tombs for children. So what they had, this sacrifice of children had specific name. This name is passing children through fire. Passing through fire. It's terrible things that we are speaking now about. You know, we came to learn about our tradition, about our spirituality, but I think we have to speak about this, because very soon I will go to the Bible and you will see that the Bible also proves these terrible things that were happening on land of Israel. So, passing children to the fire. And, interesting, this practice was about firstborn children. We know this, firstborn children. And parents were sacrificing their children to Moloch, Melech, depend how you pronounce it, for financial prosperity and blessing for their future children. You see, I give you my firstborn child, I make my child go to fire, and you bless me with prosperity for me and my future children. Give to Melech, the most important I have, my firstborn child. We also know about spreading of this terrible cult outside from Canaan. We know that this cult also moved, cult of Moloch, Melech, to northern Africa. And this god there had a very similar name, whatever, but it's not important, but it's about the same. Of course, there are some changes in pronunciation of the name, but whatever. There, we know that people were offering to Molech the sacrifices of animals, lambs. You see lambs, they appear there. But also, they continue to offer to this god sacrifices of their children. And we also know that in Northern Africa, and please remember that Northern Africa didn't have Arabs there. It was another population, completely another. So the name of this Malek became Kronos later, and this is already Greek method. how we say it in English?
Mythology.
Mythology, thank you. From northern Africa, this cult moved to Greece, and the city of Carthage, is it correct pronunciation? Carthage. Okay, thank you. The city of Carthage became the center of this cult there, and we would say already in Western world. I didn't prepare any quotes for you because I thought that it's not necessary, but you can find in writes of many Roman scientists, people of history, they mentioned about human sacrifices in the city of Carthage. And also Plato himself, philosopher, speaks about illegal and terrible human sacrifices that are legal and acceptable in the city of Carthage. Later, this Kronos, this Molech, in Greek way Kronos, became like a father of Zeus, Titan, that needed human sacrifices. Interesting that close to Jerusalem before coming of Israelites was the place of worship, Malek, and place for sacrifices. It's the Hinnom Valley, and because of this valley, because of this place and it passed, it became associated with the idea of Tophet, the hell. Tophet, the hell. Why? Because Canaanites were sacrificing their children in this valley close to Jerusalem. You see how idea of hell is forming in mentality, in Judaic mentality. And we will speak later, I will bring you a couple quotes from prophets that they speak about this place because they knew about past of this place. So, next, not only Molech or Melech, but also you definitely heard about Baal. And Molech and Baal are present in Holy Bible. So worship of Baal also was spread in Canaanites communities, and I definitely have difficulty to separate to these beliefs because they are very similar. Probably we need someone smarter that dedicated his life to study the things, but you will see that they are very similar, Molech and Baal. They both required human sacrifices of children, and they also looked similar. Not the same, but similar. We will speak about this. So, Baal, or in Semitic way, Baal, Hebrew, means owner, the Lord, Prince or Lord of the earth. This is the name. And if you would like to bring to your mind some good association, remember the prophet Elijah, because king of Israel during time of Elijah was married with a woman that brought to Israel the worship of Baal, and she also she also built many holy places dedicated to Baal, and she brought many prophets of Baal. And we know that very slow she brought her husband to worship Baal, and also ordered to kill all prophets of Yahweh, of God of Israel, and only Elijah survived. So this war, religious war that Prophet Elijah does against the king and his wife, it's about this worship of Baal there in Northern Kingdom in Israel. So we also know that the cult of Baal was spread in Egypt. So you see, from one places go to another places. And we know that in Egypt it was pretty popular between 1400 before Christ and until 2075 before Christ. So more than 300 years around, always around. So because of it also went to Babylon. In Babylon, the pronunciation of Baal became Bel. And also because of Babylon, Egypt, it entered in Greek culture and Greek mythology, and became, from Bel it became Belos, and later it was identified with Zeus. You see, Kronos, the father of Zeus, is Molech, Zeus is Baal. But I think it's some transformation of beliefs connected with immigration of ideas and worship. But what is interesting, so if Molech was imagined as a big strong man with a head of bull, Baal Hamon was associated with the ram. You see, not bull, but ram. And always was depicted with horns. Ram and bull is not the same. But I think if you imagine man with a head of ram and bull, you can see some similar. I cannot say modern, but if you had experience of different satanic cults, you easily will discover that the Satan is imagined as a human person with a head of, and now say me, God with two horns. Goat. So bull, ram, God, it's pretty close. And this name, Baal, you also can find in different satanic cults now. So probably it's rooted there in some way. I cannot say you, yes, it's rooted there, but I see something similar. I definitely see something similar in this imagination of this God, human with a head of animal with two horns. So the archaeological record seems to bear out accusation in Roman sources that, one more time, Carthage Carthaginians burned their children as human sacrifices to Baal. So you see, we mentioned Carthagin in context of Moloch, but in the same time, these Greeks were doing sacrifices, human sacrifices to Baal also. They had special place dedicated to Baal, to worship Baal. The name in Carthagin for this god was Baal Karnaim. Karnaim means Lord of the two horns. Lord with two horns. I don't know, when I speak about this, I imagine the modern image of devil, you know, this pentagram, this star, and this man with a hat of God is sitting there inside of this pentagram. It's probably the same. Lord of the two horns. And they had open sanctuary across the bay of Carthage with name Jebel Bu Cornein, two horn hill. You see, it was a hill dedicated to this god with this name, and was something important for them to, how does it say, to mention that this god has two horns. How look sacrifices to Moloch and Baal? Around statue of God on this holy place, holy through parentheses. For example, in valley of Hinnom, close to Jerusalem, or on this two-horn hill, cross bay of Carthage, was the sanctuary, open space, valley or hill, in this case or in that case, was a big statue of this god, and around were prepared like a, how to say it, I don't know the English word, during World War I, with positional war, soldiers were trenches, were trenches around, and they were putting, in case of, I don't know about case of Carthagin, but in case of Canaanites in modern Israel, they were putting their firstborn children, infants, in pots, and were creating a fire in this place around statue of God, burning their children in these pots. It sounds terrible. Do you remember with Men's Club we watched movie about possession, Nefarious? Maybe some people that watch us know this movie. If not, I recommend you to watch this movie, Nefarious. It's about one prisoner condemned to death that possessed by demon, and one psychiatrist should do his decision, or he is sick or no, or we could, you know, make him be in hospital because he is mentally bad, or he should accept his punishment to death. And demon all the time discusses things with this psychiatrist through the prisoner, and he speaks about abortion, that children are killed inside of mothers' wombs, and we cannot hear their voices because they cannot cry from the mother's tomb. And he compares this demon in this movie, this modern sacrifices of children, with all sacrifices to devil when children were killed. He didn't say about pots, but he says about drums, they were beating during human sacrifices for not make the cry of children, how does it say, noticeable for present people. Do you understand me? So it's here. It was in Israel, and it was so strong that you see that it even were going to another countries around, Egypt, Greece, Northern Africa. This cult was so strong that when God gave his law to Moses, he many times mentioned about this cult in his law. And now we will speak about Bible, about what Bible says about this. First, Psalm 106, verses 36, 37. Serving the pagans' idols, they found themselves trapped into sacrificing their own sons and daughters to demons. This is Psalm, one more time, 106. And if we say, of course, studying Bible, we know that not all Psalms belongs to David. But also traditionally we say that he is the author of many Psalms. And you see, if we say that this is David, or this is something around him, some environment around him, you see, they mention this. Why? Because it existed still in that time and was practiced by people around Israelites. Serving the pagans' idols, they found themselves trapped into sacrificing their own sons and daughters to demons. So now, Leviticus. You see, we have Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Leviticus is the law, and Deuteronomy is like repeating of the law. The last book, Deuteronomy, it was oral tradition say that before entering in land of Israel, and Moses, he got the promise from God that he won't enter in land of Israel. He will die in the desert. And he was knowledge of this, he gathered of the people. It's already new generation. All people, almost all people that were that started their life in the desert without knowledge of slavery of Egypt. And he repeats the law with them. Everything, one more time. Important things. So Leviticus, the chapter 18, 21. You must not hand over any of your children to have them passed to Molech, nor must you profane the name of your God in this way. I am Yahweh. So, very direct message, very strict message, very clear message. It does not leave any doubts. It says, no sacrifice your children to Molech. Even the name of this idol is mentioned. No sacrifices to Moloch. If you do this, you profane my name, the name of your God. And my name is Yahweh, not Moloch. Don't do this. When they got this law, they were in the desert. But even during their journey in the desert, God already said them not to do this. Why? Because around probably already existed this practice. Even before entering the land of Canaan, they knew about these practices. So it already was spread in that time around them. Leviticus 20, chapter 20, verse 3. I shall set my face against that man, and outlaw him from his people, for in handing over his children to Molech, he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. So if you worship Molech, you are outside of the law. I don't look on you anymore. Shall set my face again. This is like, the face of God. It's like a blessing. For example, the shine of the face of God. It's like a sun. If sky is clear, you see you can accept the warmth and light from sun. If it's cloudy, it's dark and cold. So the same, when face of God is biblical language. If the face of God is directed to you, it means that all the blessings and goodness from God are directed in your life. So if you worship Molech, no, you outside of law, no blessings. You cut off from Israel. Defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. And the verses 2 from 5 of the same 20th chapter says, what to do with people that worship Molech. Must stone him, put him to death, and stone, put to death, punished by death if you worship Molech, if you do this idolatry. And also, it's beautiful. I like this. God through Moses said, put to death him who prostitute themselves by following Molech. You see, prostitute themselves. The covenant with God, the union with God is compared with a marriage. Israel and God is like groom and bride. We're united, we have this union, this covenant. I'm your God, you're my people. But if you worship another gods, Molech in this situation, you prostitute me, my covenant. God is jealous. Okay, Deuteronomy 18.10. There must never be anyone among you who makes his son or daughter pass through fire. And we already mentioned that Canaanites named these human sacrifices passing through fire. Passing through fire. Now, I already mentioned about this valley of Hinnom near Jerusalem that was a place of worship of Molech by Canaanites, and that created idea of Tophet, the hell, because they were burning their children there, sacrificing them to Molech. So in Prophet Isaiah, the chapter 30, the verse 33, Isaiah speaks about this practice in early Jerusalem to sacrifice children. For in Tophet, the hell, and it's about that valley, there has been prepared beforehand, yes, made ready for Molech, a pit deep and wide with straw and wood in plenty. You see, deep pit with straw and wood in plenty. In this pit deep, they were putting pots with their children and were burning them. Jeremiah, Prophet Jeremiah, 19:12. Tophet means hell, will become a burial ground for lack of other space. But what interesting, we also can find in in prophet Jeremiah that this practice to sacrifice children was not only memory about bad customs of Canaanites before coming of Israelites, but also in the writings of Jeremiah we can find accusation of Israelites to doing these sacrifices. 32, chapter 32, verse 35. They have built the high places of Baal in the valley of Ben Hinnom, there to make their sons and daughters pass through fire in honor of Molech, something I never ordered, God saying to the prophets, something I never ordered, for it never entered my thoughts that they would do such detestable things, and so they have led Judah into sin. So in this case, God to prophets speaks not about Canaanites with their customs, but about people of Judea that were repeating these terrible sacrifices that Canaanites were doing. And in verse 36, child sacrifice mentioned as one of the reasons for the Babylon captivity. You see, interesting. Babylon captivity of Judea happened also because of human sacrifices to Moloch that not Canaanites but Jews were doing. Why so important? You see, we can spend more time trying to analyze different texts of historical books of Old Testament, and always Bible seems, how does it say, not merciful, not kind, because God in these books pretty often orders to Israelites when they enter in the land of Canaan to destroy all idols, to burn the cities, to kill the people there. And also was not never allowed to Israelites to marry people from Canaanites. And there is a reason why. Because if you marry them, if you enter in a communion with them, if you communicate with them, you will get their beliefs. They will introduce their cults and worships to you. And God say, only I am the God, Yahweh. Every other worships are prostitutions. What happened? We know that Israelites, Hebrews, they didn't destroy all Canaanites. That many of them continued to live among Israelites. They lose their kingdoms, their authorities, their principalities, but they continue to live there. And we know about their terrible cults and worships, but now we read that they never stopped. They never stopped. They continue to exist in Israel. And in the time of the kingdom of Judea, Israelites, Hebrew, not Canaanites, were practicing these cults to worship their children. It doesn't mean they all were doing this, but we know that this practice existed in that time. What also we know, I will prove you that this sacrifice of children like existed in the same time with the cult of Yahweh, one God of Israel, and was some kind of temptation, you know, for the people. For example, do we have time? Yes, we have. The second book of Kings, 3rd chapter, 26, 27. So it's about King Mesha, king of Moab. Moab, it was the neighbor kingdom to Israel. This text speaks that during war with Israel, king of Moab's Mesha sacrificed his firstborn son on the wall of the city. When the king of Moab saw that the battle had turned against him, he mustered 700 swordsmen in the hope to breaking a way out and going to the king of Aram, but he failed. Then he took his older son, who was to succeed him, it means that firstborn, and offered him as a sacrifice on the city wall. There was bitter indignation against the Israelis, who then withdraw, retiring to their own country. You see, this practice is there, it exists. After the second book of Kings, the same, in 21st chapter, 3rd verse, mentioned about King Manasseh, or Manasseh, or depend how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Manas. He offered his own son as a sacrifice. He caused his son to pass through the fire. You see, we already know the terminology. He caused his son to pass through fire. It means that he sacrificed his son in the fire to the Molech or Baal or whatever. Next, the second book of Chronicles. It's history, you know, it's historical books. It's pure history, where you can read also about presence of God in this human history and manifestations of God. And please don't be scared to read this book, because there are many bad things there. People, when they were reading these books, they thought that God is bad, you know. Some Gnostic even say that there are two different gods, God of Old Testament and God of New Testament. Demiurge, the bad God that created the world, and good God that wants to save us from this creation of bad God. But it's the same God. It's only progression of his revelation to humanity. We speak about God as a teacher that appears to barbarians and wild beasts, and because of his presence, pull them out from this wildness to the holiness. Is the progression of a manifestation of God in human history that brings us far from be beast to that level to be image and likeness of God. But in that period of history, God appeared to savages. That for them it was normal practice during war to kill all men and children and take all women as slaves, you know, and concubines, burning cities. It was normal practice at that moment, and God appeared to these people. God manifested himself to these savages. So in Book of Chronicles 28:1-4, King Ahaz, the same. He followed the example of the kings of Israel. You see, before we mentioned about Judea is the southern kingdom, and Jeremiah accused the people of Judea in human sacrifices. And God through him say that captivity of Babylon happened because you worshipped another God and you sacrificed your children to this God, having covenant with me. But here we speak in Chronicles about northern kingdom, about Israel. After Solomon, one kingdom was divided in two, northern and southern, Judea and Israel. So, northern kingdom, Ahaz, he followed the example of the kings of Israel. So he was not first. He followed example of many kings before him. Even having idols cast for the Baals, he offered incense in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, and caused his sons to pass through fire, copying the shameful practices of the nations which Yahweh had disposed from the sons of Israel. This is Chronicles 28:1-4. It's from Bible. King of Ahaz followed example of another kings of Israel. They were practicing the same terrible human sacrifices of nations of Canaan that God disposed for the sons of Israel. You see how strong was this practice and how strongly it was rooted in religion, in thinking, in feeling, in culture, in customs. And for how long time? How long time this practice didn't disappear from the land of Israel? So, finally, anticipating the revelation. In case of Abraham, God gave his law to the Moses. Abraham existed before. Anticipating what we know, God ordered to Israelis, to Moses, to offer every firstborn to him. Yes, God said this. Every firstborn should be offered to me. But Exodus 34:19-20. All that first issue from the womb is mine, say God. Every male, every firstborn of flock or herd. You must redeem all the firstborn of your sons. So, or it's your son firstborn, or it's lamb or ram or cow or camel or whatever you have, donkey, every firstborn is mine. But you have to redeem it. It belongs to me. You see, the same mechanism. Firstborn should be sacrificed to God. It belongs to me. But I don't want you to kill it. To kill your firstborn children, you have to redeem it. So sacrifice for your firstborn, let's say lamb. Now remember Jesus Christ. He was brought to the temple, and we read in Gospel that Joseph and Mary brought as a sacrifice doves. It was the sacrifice of redemption for poor people. Rich people should sacrifice a lamb. Like God said, your son is mine, but you have to redeem it. Offer it instead of your son a lamb for me. And considering that there are poor people, he said doves, couple of doves. Christ also was redeemed. Now, remember anticipating Abraham, when he came to sacrifice his son, God stopped his hand. We will read it. It's only anticipating. And unexpectedly appeared the animal for sacrifice there. Animals for sacrifice. Now, you see, like the same mechanism is existing. Firstborn belongs to God. In this diabolic version of Molech, Baal, Kronos, Satan, they needed to sacrifice own children to this idol. God said that this mechanism still exists, but I don't want your death, so redeem it. Anticipating, a son always was redeemed by lamb, and we were redeemed. Our redemption is Jesus Christ. He gave his life for our lives. Now coming back to Abraham without anticipation, we don't have time. What I would like to say, when we read these words, "Here I am," he replied. "Take your son," God said, "your only child Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you shall offer him as a burnt offering on a mount I will point out to you." So what God orders to Abraham? Why? Because around Abraham, it was a normal practice to worship idols and do this human sacrifices. The sacrifices of all firstborn children to idols, burning them. We have it mentioned in many historical rites. It's in Holy Bible. Archaeology also proves this. That it was so spreaded, it was so strong, that when Abraham came to this land, according to the culture of this land, the custom of this land, it was something normal. Sacrifice on firstborn child to these demons, like Psalm said, Psalm 106. And God proving him, testing him, say, sacrifice now, offer your son as a burnt offering. So, do what people around you do for their gods. Do this for me. For finish today, we know that God didn't want this from Abraham. It was only test. We know that God didn't want this from Israelites in future. It was forbidden to do this kind of sacrifices. But we should understand how strong was this idolatry in that time and after. Abraham came in country with this custom, with this strong worship to demons, with these human sacrifices. And God to his prophets was fighting with this during whole history of Israel. I think disappearance of Israel because of Babylon captivity. This practice was living there. And some kings, some people continue to do these practices of Canaanites, sacrificing their children. And it was something diabolic, something that was considered as prostitution from God, spiritual prostitution. But it was the reality of the Canaan, human sacrifices. So when we read about Abraham and his case, we should understand that it happened in specific historical, cultural, religious context. God asked him this, and Abraham didn't say, "God, are you crazy? What are you asking me?" If God would ask me now, sacrifice your firstborn child, it's not acceptable. But in that situation, Abraham accepted this because why? He could do rebellion, but God asked him about this because it was spreaded practice, rooted in culture, mentality, and spirituality of Canaanites, people around Abraham. So thank you for your attention. So, and with this we stop with history and archaeology. Next time we speak about comments and understanding of these verses from Genesis. So we come back to theology. Thank you.